Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl. The topic of my essay is Women Mature Psychologically Faster Than Men. There are three arguments of my essay. The first one is women's brains build connections faster than men's. The second is girls' brain mature faster than boys during puberty. The third is the physical structure of men's and women's brains is different. For the first one, women's brains build connections faster than men's. At birth, men and women have roughly the same number of brain fibers. These fibers create a network that helps us learn and develop. As we age, the brain finds a faster way to send messages from one region to another. In the first few years of life, there is an overfolding of initial neurons, connections, and brain surfaces. Since then, the pruning process has been refined to make the brain network more economical and efficient. It may seem strange to think that the brain would improve by condensing rather than expanding, but it helps explain this particular maturation effect. This process seems to occur earlier in women than in men, which could explain why, in terms of cognitive maturity, women tend to be ahead of the curve. A woman's brain is one step further in this process of reorganization and is likely to work more efficiently than a man's for at least a few years. Then for the second argument, Dr. Priestley explained that girls mature more quickly than boys during puberty. Their brains grow 2 years faster. In fact, neuroimaging shows that early on, the typical young girl has stronger connections between the brain region that controls impulse, the amygdala, and judgment, the prefrontal cortex. Boys' brains don't catch up with girls until late teens or early 20s. Long-distance connections are difficult to establish and maintain, but they are essential for fast and efficient processing. Co-leader of the study at Newcastle University in England, girls have their own hippocampus, the site of emotional memories, which is twice the size of boys. The female brain uses many contents in both hemispheres that are activated in response to faces, sounds, and expressions. However, men use only one set of their brain. A recent neuroimaging study confirmed that the average man has fewer glowing brain cells than a woman. When tracking the emotional expressions of another face, men are simply incapable of reading emotions. For the last argument, men and women have different structure of brains. Men and women have different brains. Women's brains have more neural connectors from the limbic brain to the frontal cortex, also known as our thinking brain. So here we are in the thinking brain analyzing, controlling our own impulses, experiencing learning, and creating emotions. So it can be said that women are more sensitive and expressive, that they can speak up and deal with certain things that men don't want to deal with. They have warmth, understanding, and a different point of view, which may make them more mature than men. Women are more emotionally intimate, graceful, and sexually active, and gradually develop a deeper sense of attachment and a better understanding of all things in and around life. Adjusted to accommodate the overall size of the brain, larger in men. The hippocampus, which is crucial for learning and memory, is larger for women and works differently. In contrast, men's amygdalas which are associated with emotional experiences and the memories of those experiences, are larger than women's amygdalas. As Cahill's research shows, it also works differently. Compared to men, women's memories of emotional events are stronger and more vivid. They were able to recall emotional memories more quickly, and the contents of the memories were richer and more intense. If the amygdala is likely to sink into depression or anxiety, then any failure to analyze the brains of men and women individually to understand their different susceptibility to either syndrome would be self-deluding, like not knowing from right to left. These two hemispheres of a woman's brain talk to each other more than a man does. In a 2014 study, researchers at the University Pennsylvania imaged that brains of 428 men and 221 young women, an usually large sample, and found that women's brains consistently showed greater hemispheric coordination of activity, while men's brain activity was more tightly coordinated within local brain regions. This finding confirms the result of smaller, earlier published study and is closely tied to the observation by others that the core body, a cable of white material that runs across and connects the hemispheres, and is larger in women than in men, and that women's brains tend to be more symmetrical than men's. One big reason men's and women's brains are different is that throughout their lives, men and women have run different additives in their tanks, says steroids, hormones. In few mammals, the main additives are a few members of a group of molecules called estrogen and another molecule called progesterone. In men, testosterone and similar substances are collectively known as estrogens. Importantly, men who develop normally in the hoop are hit by a testosterone surge in the second trimester that permanently shape not only their body parts and proportions, but their brains as well. How the connectivity of the brain change during developed in terms of the bundles of fibers within and between brain regions. More specifically, the researchers found that number of the stimuli decreased preferentially for brain regions and short and thin connections within the hemispheres. Males, males and females may not necessarily undergo these changes at the same time. Males tend to show a delayed start due to long-term development of white and gray matter. The advantage and disadvantages of my arguments. The physically mature is based on social developmentals that focus on building opportunities, skills, rewarding positive social behavior, making connections, and having clear expectations of behavior. Social perspectives play a very important role in gender-based maturation. The society we have today is still patriarchal, is still in many ways. A woman who has a boyfriend, marriage, and children is considered mature, while men can usually only earn maturity through a good education, a secure life, and a job. Obviously, not all men and women are the same, but for many people, the science is undeniable. Powerful hormones and the brain's complex cruelty do influence our behavior and therefore our fate. So overall, there are three arguments about my essay, and this phenomenon is not really representative of all human possibilities, and social guidance may also have an impact on this phenomenon. And this is my reference. Thank you for listening.